And now we can move on to the tips, starting off with Carlton and Collingwood at the MCG on Thursday night. Um, it's a big game. No notes. Thank you very much. Carlton by 26. Geelong versus Melbourne. I said before that Melbourne have to bounce back. But on the flip side, Geelong also have to bounce back. And I think they're much more equipped to do so than what the D's are, especially at GMHBA. So they've got that home ground advantage. They really need a win at 1 and 2 to get their season back on track because they're expecting to compete this year. Melbourne, I think, are going to slip to 0-4. I think it's just the harsh reality of it. So Geelong by 42 points. Gold Coast Adelaide is a huge one. A huge one. So evenly matched, these two teams. At People First Stadium, I think that is the only factor that I can use to really separate these two teams, in my opinion. I think the home ground advantage is going to be massive for the Suns here. And I think because of that, they're going to take it to 3-0. There's not, as I said, there's not much more that I can use to split these two teams. I think they're so even. Um, and Gold Coast have proven to be a very good home side, so I think they're going to win this game by 15 points. Richmond, Brisbane at the MCG. Is this Brisbane's first game at the G since the grand final? Potentially so. Yeah, Brisbane are just going to walk all over this team. They're going to walk all over this Richmond team, even if it's again Brisbane haven't really been starting games well. Richmond have at times taken it up to their opponents. So even if it starts fairly back and forth, I think by the end of this game they're just going to run all over them, much like what St Kilda did in their game. Do I have the balls to tip them by as much as what St Kilda beat them, like the 80, 90 point range? I don't know. I think it's probably safe for me to just say like 10 goals. We'll say 10 goals. North Sydney. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I think right now on the tipping app I have North Melbourne. I think I have North Melbourne, and I think I'm going to stick with North Melbourne. I think I'm going to give them the benefit based on the football that they've been playing. Competitive, really competitive against the Crows. Obviously beat the D's in the fashion that they did. Fairly competitive against the Dogs as well. I think ultimately I've liked what I've seen from North more than I've liked what I've seen from Sydney. Sydney could very easily be 0-3. And they did well to grind out that game against Freo, but it wasn't pretty, and they very easily could have blown that at the end. Um, so yeah, I think I have to give North the benefit based on that. It's going to be close at Marvel, but I'm going to tip them by 7 points. I think if it was in Sydney, I'd be tipping the Swans. But away from home, I just think North might be a little bit better. A little bit better, which would be a massive win from them, taking them to 2-2. GWS versus West Coast. I think this is going to be a massive statement game from the Giants. They need it after the way they lost that game against the Hawks, having the lead that they had at the start of the game and then letting the Hawks get back and win it. I think they're going to make a massive statement here, as I said. So yeah, I'm tipping them by quite a lot of points. Let's go with 51 points. Port St Kilda are another difficult game to tip. It's another hard one. Port were not good against the Bombers, as we said before. I'm not full of confidence with what they bring to the table. St Kilda, on the other hand, were very good against the Tigers, very good against the Cats as well. I think if it were in Melbourne, I'd tip them with a fair bit of confidence. It being in Adelaide makes this a bit of a coin flip, just purely based on the fact that I think Port play Adelaide Oval very well. That's how our home ground works, believe it or not. No. The thing is you can never back in St Kilda with any level of confidence because you just know that they can, while they can beat anyone on their day, they can also lose to absolutely anyone on their day. Um, so yeah, that makes it difficult. Have Port also won like a lot of games against St Kilda? I feel like they've only lost maybe 2 games against them in the last 10, 15 years. Like they're a bit of a bogey team for the Saints. I think I'm going to tip the Power. In Adelaide, bit of a bogey team, need to bounce back. They've got the personnel. Yeah, I'm going to tip the Power by 15 points. Freo versus the Western Bulldogs to finish off the round. Finishing off the round with the Dockers and the Bulldogs. Um, I think this is just another game where I'm going to back in the home advantage. As boring as it is, again, probably based on what we've seen so far this year, very evenly matched. Obviously, the Dockers didn't look very good in those first two games. Looked a lot better against the Eagles, and we feel they're going to kind of hit a groove now. Whereas the Dogs have looked pretty good across all three games. I think I'm just going to lean towards the Dockers here and back them in to carry on that momentum from that Eagles game. A lot of it comes from the faith that I put in them at the start of the year, um, and banking on them to really push back into that contender category. But yeah, I think they're just going to be a little bit too good for the Dogs here rather. Um, so yeah, 10 points for the Dockers. And there it is, starting off next week with Gather Round Adelaide versus Geelong. Going to be very exciting. It's going to be very exciting, and I can't wait. I'm not going this year, but it'll be good to watch. It'll be great to watch for sure.